The place, School City of East Chicago Administration Building, 1401 East 144th Street in East Chicago, Indiana 46312. This meeting is also being able to be viewed via live stream at www.scec.k12.in.us. This is a meeting of the school board in public for the purpose of conducting the school corporation's business and is not to be considered a public community meeting. We do ask to be mindful and respectful of the board members as well as superintendent and our presenters. First, we'll have call to order. Ms. Goss?
Present. Present. Present.
Present. Present. Next, we will have the Pledge of Allegiance. Can you please rise? Next, we'll move to the presentation portion of our meeting. Superintendent, right?
Yes, we have a presentation by Global Consulting Solutions on diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Okay. All right. Can everyone hear? Okay, great. So I'll just go ahead and jump in and get started. We will be brief today. Global Consulting Solutions, we've been around for a while, and I'll tell you a little bit about myself. Of course, I know several of you in the room for many years, but I don't know if you are as familiar with my background in diversity, inclusion, equity, and access. I actually started way back in the 90s when they called it multiculturalism. And I was at the university level, and I was part of teaching a class about multiculturalism, how we compared beauty to the Barbie doll and John Wayne and conversations like that. And then on to corporate America. In about the mid 90s, you started seeing a push for integrating minority businesses and minority suppliers. And part of my corporate position was I was the minority business advocate to bring minority businesses into the corporation, into the supply chain. But one thing we learned back then, and I'm going to be brief here, is that just because of things like affirmative action and trying to do hiring practices and things like that, we found out it was like inviting somebody to a party, but no one asked them to dance. And then came on the conversation of inclusion, access, opportunity. Now we're seeing calls for justice, environmental justice, social justice. And then we're also going to be addressing, as a society of D&I practitioners, the silent P, which is the balance of power, which is very important in the conversation. So today, we're just going to give you an overview of some of the things that we've been doing in education in the school districts around the area. We're going to be a little bit informal. Franklin, do you want to introduce yourself briefly here?
Sure. Is this one working? I can use this. Oh, fantastic. So my name is Franklin Reed, and although we share the same last name, we're not related, and I actually have the better of the looks. You just can't tell with this mask on. But similar to Milton, I've been in the diversity, equity, and inclusion space for the last 8 years, but I've been involved in workforce development for over 20 years. And so I've been focused on creating environments where people can come into a setting, no matter what that setting is, they can bring their authentic selves and they can thrive. I'm originally from the south side of Chicago. Married 23 years ago, and I thought I was going to do a 2-year lease and then move back to Chicago, but now I am officially a Hoosier. And really excited about the work that we have been doing with several of the school systems throughout the community in the region. So looking forward to continuing the conversation with you all today.
Okay, so I'll jump right in. I can't help but say claim to fame. This was my elementary school, so I walked down that hall 100 times. So it's good to be back. So Global Consulting Solutions. What are some of our solutions? We get involved, and I appreciate the IT. The IT in this room is absolutely fantastic. There's a good view no matter where you stand. Diversity, equity, inclusion strategy, and program development. These are things that are more strategic in nature. They take more time, and they have to be very intentional. And we'll talk to you a little bit later about what that's about. But we also do is some of what we call the tactical things, and those are workshops and professional development. This is where your teachers can get professional development credits, and it's more training, it's hands-on, it's interactive, but it is not as strategic as the programming. So I tell anyone, typically you won't take a 2-hour class on bias and then you affect your organizational culture. It just doesn't work that way. But you have to take the bias class to understand how to get to the next conversation and how to advance conversations that make us sometimes uncomfortable around these topics. And let's just keep it real. Ever since, these things with Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, things we're still seeing today, we have a chance now to get the conversation front and stage. One thing I also say is that, when we enter these conversations, we've got to learn to have grace and mercy for one another so that we can reach our goal. And part of the basis, and we'll share a little bit more about our philosophy of how we get to that and what our strategy is in working that. So in our strategy and program development, you can see here, and I won't read it word for word, but it's a journey. We view it as 3 spheres, the individual, the organization, and then society at large. Not a whole lot we can do for society at large. It's such a big piece and so many layers and layers to it. But as an organization, you definitely have the ability to affect the culture within the organization so that when individuals come in, it is well known, say, hey, this is how they function here. We can control this. We can change this because it's a part of it. And again, we'll get more into it. It's the science of the brain and how the brain works. And we stop labeling each other and really buckle down on how we can work together to reach these outcomes that have to be very strategic and well articulated. Next slide, please. So what is our approach? First thing is there has to be some level of discovery. We say that we need to meet people where they are. So we have to have conversations because and even from districts, we found in working with school districts, some schools are worse off than other schools. And so you may have a different level of concentration based upon the principal and leadership at that school. And you may also find that there are things that you can do district-wide that provide support. So some of the discovery and really everything we do is customized for each particular school district. No 2 districts are alike. So what we do over in another district in Lake Central, and they may have different needs. Okay, the next thing is the assessment. Assessment of the leadership team is very important because it goes beyond, well, this is my opinion or this is what I think. This is calculated, algorithm, data-driven, scientific, and there is a process that we go through, and we'll talk a little bit more about it. I'm kind of giving you an overview that assesses your administrators, your principals, your board of directors. This has to be a commitment from the top down. And it has to be something that is not optional because everyone really does believe in what this will do and ultimately the end product, which is education and how it affects children's lives. We know that children are experiencing things in school that affect them the rest of their lives. We know this. And we have to be intentional about doing something about it because we also know we have to normalize the conversation, stop being uncomfortable. It's okay to say we know we have predominantly white female teachers. We have to say that we understand the reason why we don't have as many black males is because of the experience that they had in K through 12. Why would they want to be a teacher? So we've got to get uncomfortable and be able to normalize that conversation to really do something about it. Okay, and so solutioning, custom solutions. That's strategic, a combination of strategic and tactical. The implementation, so you put a plan together, but you have to actually execute the plan. It can't be words on the wall or words in a strategic plan. What is the immediate next step we can do? And as consultants, myself and Franklin, we don't do anything that we cannot measure success. You have to be able to measure success. It can't just feel good. We have to have metrics. This is where we are. This is how we measure, and this is how we do that. And we can help you get to that point. Okay, so again, this slide goes a little bit more into the cultural and readiness assessment. That's what I was talking about. This is the program that Basically, it measures the professional development. It goes into your executive leadership, hiring talent. We can help you with that. Many districts will tell us, say, hey, we want to get more diversity in our pool of new employees. Well, you can't go to the same pool to get a different candidate. So how do you get down to Florida A&M and get somebody to want to move to Northwest Indiana? We can help you with that. We can help you how to articulate that. And there are other things that we do in this. Diversity council, employee resource groups, quarterly meetings where you bring in outside. This is not, I'm not the only one that does this. And we use other professionals and we say, hey, you should be using this program. This is what will really work well here. So, okay, next slide, please. Any questions? Am I going too fast, too slow? All right, let's keep going. And frankly, we don't really have a hard break, so we're just kind of being informal here. Let's see what's on the next slide. Okay, yeah, so, well, friend, you want to cover this part?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm actually going to back up one. I want to talk about the professional development. The way we look at and approach professional development is real change only happens when it's immersive, when an individual is involved in an experience that shows up in real behavior change over a long period of time, and we want to measure that. It's one thing to go to a presentation, watch something on the screen, watch a presenter, and you clap at the end, you walk out, and you don't know how to apply it. But creating an incubator where people can experience the learning moments is really important to us. And so while Milton can go to the next screen, these inclusion labs are designed to do that. And this is just a snapshot of some of the inclusion labs that we have, we've created. Conscious decision making, which, we intentionally call it conscious decision making, but it's really mitigating unconscious bias. And that's intentional that it's labeled conscious decision making because unfortunately people have a negative association with unconscious bias. But this is to get them in the room. And then it's like, Ali the okey doke. But they walk away really understanding how their brain works and then also how to actually mitigate the impact of unconscious bias. And then you see some of the other content that we deliver through these inclusion labs. We also we develop our content. We create it. We do so by, again, through this assessment. We understand what people are. And Milton used the term meeting people where they are. Absolutely important. We can't assume that people are at a certain point on this journey. And so we want to meet them where they are so that we can all take a step together. And that's what these inclusion labs give us an opportunity to do. I'm just going to drill down into one of them and then show you an activity and then wrap up and talk a little bit more about some of the additional capabilities and services that we have. But the conscious decision making, if you don't mind, Milton, you can go to the next one. So this is just a brief overview of the conscious decision making, and we're really clear about what the learner is going to get out of each one of these inclusion labs. As you can see here, the 4 things that they'll get out of this conscious decision making lab is they're going to identify bias in the process of the mind. They're going to become aware of their own individual background and their perceptual lens. They're going to become familiar with some of the most common biases that show up in interactions with teachers and students, as well as teachers and parents. This is important, and we're going to show them real world data because unconscious bias is unconscious. You don't know that you have a bias, and you don't even realize that you have treated someone a certain way. But it's really hard to negate the data when we show you the data in front of you of some of those interactions with teachers and their students. And you would be really surprised in how that shows up. And then finally, it's one thing to just learn this, but can the teacher or the administrator or the individual actually behave a different way going forward? And that's what these strategies are designed to do, is to give us and the teachers and the administrators an opportunity to see long-term behavior change in their interactions. It doesn't mean that you don't make mistakes, but hopefully you catch those mistakes more often. And the experience of the family, the experience of the parent, the experience of the student is much more valuable. And then next slide, Milton. So I want to give you an example of unconscious bias and how the brain works. I want you to take a look at this graphic. Take a look at square A and take a look at square B. Raise your hand if you believe square A and square B are 2 different shades. Raise your hand if those are 2 different shades to you when you look at it. Square A and square B are 2 different shades. Okay, so the vast majority of you all believe that those are two different shades. All right, go to the next slide. I'm going to show you two lines, all right? Both of those lines are the exact same shade, the two lines. Now, what I'm going to do on the next slide, not yet, but I'm going to superimpose those two lines onto the two blocks. And then you tell me if you believe your answer would remain the same. Go ahead, Milton. Now look at the two shades. They're the same shade. Now, why did we take you through this experiment? The experiment is to show you that the brain operates a certain way that we sometimes have no control over. Now, this has no consequences because it's a graphic on the screen, and I've asked you to take a look at it. But imagine having an interaction with a student that goes off the rails, and then you leave, you go to your life, and you do your thing. But the consequences are the student is left feeling less than, not connected. The family feels like they're not a part of the solution in the process. And again, these are no consequences. But the whole goal is to help us recognize what's happening in the brain in those moments and recognize the scenarios that those happen more frequently or more likely to happen. So as we enter into those scenarios, we're on guard a little bit more. You can go to the next slide. Just so you know that I didn't manipulate any of this, Milton's going to push it one more time, and you'll just see a video, and it'll show you moving it over so you can see that I had nothing to do with it. Go ahead. Just push it one more time. Oh. Okay, you can stop. All right, we'll go to the next slide. Okay. So we just wanted to share some results. This is direct results from the Conscious Decision Making Workshop Inclusion Lab with one of the school districts where we've had at least 400 teachers or so, probably about 400 teachers go through. And overall rating from those 400 teachers, they scored a 4 out of 5. Facilitator, they gave us a 9.5, 9.8 for the facilitator. 9.5, they found value in the workshop. And then this was what's most important. Can you apply what you learned? And of those 400 teachers, on average, rated a 9.1. And then the last one is that 100% of them indicated that their workshop met their expectations going in. One more slide. This is just some anecdotal feedback from teachers, and we could have selected 100 different comments, but one teacher wrote, I've been teaching for 17 years, and this was the most impactful and relevant professional development session they've been a part of. Very eye-opening, love the education-specific data and studies, which is why we customize the content. This individual said that the conversation will impact my thought process going forward, which is what we're after, is get people to think differently. And then this last one, I had a negative view of bias, but I now accept that I am biased. That is, in my opinion, one of the most valuable outcomes of that is for people to actually come to the conclusion that, you know what, I am biased. But we don't have to allow the negative impact of bias. And so these are just some of those comments. And this is the proposal that Milton mailed over. And so I'll let him take it from here, and we can talk about some of the content there.
Yeah, sure. Any questions so far? And Franklin, can you just go back one slide real quick? I want to comment on this one also to let you all know that we have done quite a few school districts around. We've done, now and then we've done work with School City of Hammond. We've done work with South Holland District. We're getting calls all the time. We're getting calls now from places like Cayman City, even Richmond. Now is the time when districts all over, small and large, are saying we've got to do something about this. Our children are taking too hard of a hit. And now it takes, again, the word I like to use in it is intentionality. It has to be deliberate. You have to put resources behind it, and you have to commit to the journey. Okay, so, I forgot we had this slide in. So this tells some of our corporate engagements as well. This is just a sample of them. So, okay, next slide, or the previous slide. Okay, so basically, the proposal that you have in front of us, this is what it is that we have in front of you. Is that if you wanted to have these a board member session, and we never have done board members with teachers and administrators, to be honest with you. The board is so significant. Whenever we do the CEO level, we tailor it for that group. And sometimes we just get better response that way. Administrators and leaders, and we can wiggle that number a little bit, 25. We like to get all of those people, all the principals together. Because our philosophy is, again, for the conscious decision maker, for the bias. If you don't have the bias understand the science of the brain, understand the data that we pull together from all over the world. We have research from Sweden, United States, Harvard, all over that is related to classroom experience, teacher-student interaction. If you don't have that base, it's hard to go to the next conversation about race, about stereotypes, about microaggressions, about systematic inequities, because you can't really create a brave space to have that conversation, which is very critical. So you don't want to be in that class going to level 2 conversations. Everyone's so tight because it's going to be a blame game and I can't express myself. I can't do this because they're looking at it. But when you understand that many of the things that you have done and said, they were unintentional. You know, we go into when we see these viral videos, many people will say, well, that's not me. But yet still it happened without their control. And maybe if you were at the kitchen table with them, you would see a different person. And we get into the root cause of all of that so that we can have grace for one another and mercy. Okay, so let's go on to the next slide. We only got about 2 more slides left, I think. So just so that you understand, in one of the larger districts in the area, we are engaged right now with a full strategic planning program, okay? And I'm just showing you, this is just appendix that I can have available to you. I do bring copies, but have not presented it. But just to let you know, if you want the full strategic planning, which really leads to organizational and cultural change, these are the things you need to do. After the bias training for everyone, with the administrators and leaders, that's why I say this is so important, to go deeper, to go to a deeper dive with all these uncomfortable conversations, so you know everyone in leadership has a responsibility for their building and for the ones that report to them to understand what the impact this is having from a global conversation on diversity, inclusion, equity, and access. Okay? Further believe that the teachers should all go through, teachers and even clerical staff, to be honest with you, because clerical staff is so important because that's when their parent first calls, right? That's that experience when they come in the door. And how do you mitigate the circumstance that you can't hold what an older brother did against the younger brother? And now, quite frankly, we're seeing generations where it's going mother to father, parent to son to grandchild with the same teacher. So these are things that the teachers, we have to get the teachers in on the basis of this so that they can understand some of the impact that they're having and they reach some of these conclusions. Okay? And the next thing we talked about, the individual cultural assessment and administrator's report. So there's not, we have to be data driven in some of this and understanding where we are. And that's how you start to get your roadmap of where you want to be. And that's a full D&I strategic plan. Many of you have gone through school district strategic plans, and the process in of itself is very similar. You get a group of stakeholders together. You have to clearly articulate your goals, where you want to be. You have to have the map to get there. What are the support that you will need? And this is not it's not a one-day process. It's take a few months to get a full strategic plan. So these are things, if you want to really get to organizational change, these are some of the components that you really need to go into. And like I said, I brought copies of this as an appendix. If you'd like me to share that, that's fine. If not, that's fine too. Okay, next slide. Oh, we're in. That's it. Thank you for your attention. Thank you for your time. We tried to be as brief as possible. You know, there's a lot more that we could say, but again, we want to be respectful of your time. We hopefully to engage. And I always say, hey, I'm from here. I'm a graduate here, and thank you for the opportunity to speak. Good to see all of you.
So, Mr. Reed, it is true that if this proposal is approved, the board would be trained first. Then we would train the administrative staff, because again, it's important that they buy in from the top.
Yeah, we believe that just like any society cannot move forward unless there's a shared lexicon and language. That's how societies advance. The same is for organizations. We all have to be speaking the same language and moving down the same path. And you're absolutely right. We believe that the board needs to also be brought into the same lexicon, the same language, and start moving down the path. Then everyone else will accompany.
So I would like to see that package first and foremost. If you could give it to myself and the rest of the board members. But I do have to say, I do apologize to your group. I, knowing you, had my bias on what you did in your background. I do have to say that. But I have heard many good things throughout Hammond. Many teachers have contacted me. Hey, do you know this guy? I'm like, yeah, I know that guy. And they've had a lot of buy-in there, and they're just at awe at what they've learned. So I do thank you for coming and bringing this. And Superintendent, I have to say, like, I think Diane and myself kept saying how this is all you hear at CUBE conference. Jesse and Joel, I know when we go to these conferences, you see the little guy at the bottom and the guy at the top, and can you look over the fence? That's the main thing that we see all the time. And I really do believe that we have a lot of things that we need to adjust here in the school city of East Chicago. And me being a secretary firsthand at Hammond, at East Chicago, knowing how I dealt with people and how others dealt with people having a different type of bias, it's sad for me for children. So I do hope that this is not just the board and admin. It's going to be all the way down, because if not, then what actually is going to be the expectation of the school district if we don't finish it completely? So that's just my thought, and thank you for even bringing this here.
I just have one thing. I was reading the contract and I did do some research on you. And yes, you are highly rated. Um, but what really got my interest was the procurement. Will you help the district with the procurement? I mean, like getting different vendors to help us if the roof needs to be fixed, or helping us get to those routes, the pathways to get to the right person to do it for the right amount of money. Is that what that procurement is talking about in your contract?
It is. And so I mean, first, I worked in procurement for over 10 years. And what me, me too, and me some, me only, me two, me some, and me only, the only one who is the best one, if I go back to that Mr. Confidence and all this thing, if I get it, but the least of extra careful to get where they need to be there so they can get the power. So what we have done is partner them sometimes with and we talk to one thing, they need to be a good partner. At the same time, no additional cost to fund and no sacrifice of quality. So these are the type of things that we start doing when we come to diversity inclusion, things the time thing for minority business, growing minority business. There are certain clients that you can get from a minority owned company that can stand up and walk. So they out there, but I'm going to know something to have to do. So we do, it could be hiring. I mean, we do a lot of different things. But
I have a question from the cultural individual cultural assessment. So all these parts and, so it comes from just, first off, just, I guess, when you have the plan up with teachers, is that how that goes? Or is this actually happening with us? Can you further?
Yeah, so the cultural and readiness assessment, we start with the leadership, the administration, and the board as well. And what that provides is that provides a current state. What we have found with a couple of previous clients is that they are so eager to get going, and a lot of this has to do with pressure in society or pressure with whoever the stakeholder is, and they kind of step out there and they land into a couple pitfalls, and that's because they haven't done the appropriate work on the front end to get an assessment. Okay, well, where are we really on this path? And so the assessment gives us clarity on two things. One, the individual gets a report and a feedback because, let's face it, as a human beings, we have a lot of hubris. We like to think that we are a lot more advanced and a lot more down the road than we are. And so the assessment gives the individual feedback on where they are on their own D&I journey. And then it's an anonymous aggregate of that group. So then as a district, you can see, okay, you know what, we thought we were much further along as a group. Now that we can see where we are, we know exactly where to pinpoint the professional development for the entire organization. But yeah, this is the leadership team, yes.
There's always, when we talk to special education teachers and special education administrators, the way that some of those students are treated in the classroom is definitely affected by bias. And they're children like anyone else. And so we've got to get that segment of population that is sometimes left behind and try to mitigate those things that are happening. And we know that it's happening. And so we just have a passion for that segment as well. So thank you. Does that answer your question?
It does. So then what we're approving today, though, that does not include the cultural.
We presented it as an appendix, and so it can be adopted as an appendix to the proposal that you have in front of you. I don't know your policy of how you do things, but it is in final format where it can be adopted if that was your choice, and I'll defer to your attorney for the logistics of how you want to do that. But yes, that is not in the two components, which were the only training for the board and training for the principals. So if you would like to dig in deeper, we will welcome that opportunity. Certainly that is available in that language.
And just to address that, I think we'll get into that further when we get to the actual agenda item, to hear the superintendent's recommendation, and then we can take the discussion from there.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for coming. Next, we'll move to the business portion of the meeting. And the first item is the approval of minutes. What is the pleasure of the board?
Madam President, I make the motion for approval.
Trustee Williams makes the motion for approval.
I'll second.
Trustee Gomez seconds the motion.
Rodriguez.
I'm sorry, Rodriguez. Sorry. Any questions? Ms. Cass, roll call, please.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Item number 2, approval of distribution of payroll. What is the pleasure of the board?
Madam President, make a motion to approve.
Trustee Rodriguez makes a motion for approval.
Second.
Trustee Smith seconds the motion. Any questions? Ms. Cass, roll call, please.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Item number 3, approval of claim dockets. What is the pleasure of the board?
Madam President, make a motion to approve.
Trustee Smith makes a motion for approval. Trustee Rodriguez seconds the motion. Any questions?
Madam President,
Trustee Gomez.
yeah, there are a couple of line items on here. First of all, I believe at the last board meeting, it asked for some more description. Not just in the description column, but, across the board here. Some of this is still partial information that I could read. There were a couple people on here, and I'm sorry that I'm scrolling through this now, but this is one of them is on page 14. Check number 3124 double D.
You said 3114.
3124
Oh, I'm sorry.
DD.
Actually, trustee, this right here was on when you were on previously.
I'm asking a question for today.
Sorry?
I'm asking a question for today.
Okay. That's reoccurring for the individual he's the only person who's able to do the pool.
Right. Yeah.
He's the only individual who has, who knows the knowledge. When we actually cut his position back when we did those cuts because of the referendum, or we were prior to going for referendum, but we brought him back then. And then I think he stayed on because he wasn't getting any of the benefits.
He had retired, yeah, so he had retired, and we can only retire him as a contract, yes.
So that's been like that.
This 2017.
Superintendent, what is the significance of the DD that follows the check number?
Pardon?
What's the significance of the letters DD that follow the check number?
I'm not sure, but I can get that information.
Okay. And I believe there was another person here. I wrote in my notes, it's just they're not showing up on my laptop, and I don't want to mention the employee's name, but Superintendent, you want to address that? The second one that I had a question about,
The one you sent me.
yes.
Oh, there was a contract. I believe it was.
Okay, I got it now. 3126 double D. Page 26. 26. 3126 DD.
That is a contract for special ed. This person is an asset tagger as a result of an audit from 2017.
So my question is that it shows here April 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 29 hours. And then also 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. 22.5 hours, all at $20 an hour. I just want to get some clarity that we have that many assets in special ed that we need 51 hours of work.
Ms. Cole, can you address that, please?
Yes, sorry.
It's assets since 2010 that are being recorded and put into a book he's creating, and we're searching for that we have to be accountable for. So he's almost done, but yes, it has taken a while. He has created a catalog with pictures and everything for our assets, but we have not disposed of those items, so we have to account for them. And so some of them are in the parochial school, some of them are in our storage.
Am I correct in saying that he helped with other things
He does IT for us, absolutely, and
for the iPads?
yes,
especially?
he does all of our, everything as far as that goes. Yes, website, everything. It's
this-
not just that, yes.
And he's been doing this since 2017.
Yes, yes.
Is that are the duties that you just mentioned spelled out in the contract?
I am not sure, I believe so, but the majority of his duties are the asset tagging. And like I said, we have to go back all the way and we have to account for and know where everything is. At one point, all of our stuff was out there and it was not tagged, so everything has to be tagged, every item that we purchase over a certain amount.
I do understand that. I'm just wondering about the continual, as you mentioned, we're eventually going to get caught up. I just want to know when eventually would be. And until I know what double D is, I can't support this measure.
Any other questions? Class roll call, please.
Yes. No. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Item number 4, approval of personnel report. What is the pleasure of the board?
Madam President, I make a motion for approval.
Trustee Williams makes a motion for approval.
I'll second.
Trustee Rodriguez seconds the motion. Any questions?
Madam President.
Trustee Plummer.
The question I have is related to the resignations and terminations. I know some of these have, have just passed and others are upcoming. Where are we at in terms of filling these spots?
The HR department is currently auditing their books to make sure that when we go to fill these positions, that we actually need people in these positions. So currently, Mr. Doctor is out today, but he's got a team that he's assembled to go through with each building and kind of rectify to make sure that the staff belongs there and they will be needed going forward.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Madam President,
Trustee Rodriguez.
with regard to resignation, did they fill out a, what do we call it, yes, an exit interview?
Yes, Steve. I'm not sure. I do believe so, but that is information that I will have to get back to you.
Oh, yeah, that's different. Just, I know we discussed, in discussion we had, in regards to the filling of new jobs. So, and just I think you might kind of like this one too. Every time that we do fill, I've asked the superintendent which you could give us a job description then, so that we'll build, that, just to have that, those sheets.
If I can add to it.
Go ahead.
So I think there was a discussion that was had in executive session at one point that all of the job descriptions need to be kind of looked at, that audit process that Ms. Goods was talking about. It may kind of force us to do that sooner rather than later if we update it as you fill those vacancies. So.
And then questions like Dr. Dorman had about what, this person's doing, for asset tagging and this other individual, they'll all be filled out. Any other questions? Ms. Craft, roll call, please.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Item number 5, Global Consulting Solution Services Superintendent.
Yes, I'm asking for approval of the initial contract from Global Solution, and I'm also asking for an addition of Appendix A with items A, B, C, and D. I think that on the last page, page 9, I think that the cost summary, which we could be paid out of Title II, will give us a year of professional development to move the district forward for one year. So I'm asking for approval of the cost summary so we can start planning on the professional development throughout the rest of the year in order to make sure that we are doing what's in the best interest of kids. Page 9.
Oh,
Mine stopped at page 4.
good, oh, right here. Just
It was the sheet that was passed out.
Again, we have title funds, we have CARES funds. This professional development can be offered, and we do not have to use our education funds to support the professional development of our teachers and our staff.
And that's including the teachers being able to do the, so I just want to make sure that we state. So it's including the cultural assessment. It's including the, is it up to 500 teachers afterwards, correct?
Yes, yes. So we have approximately pretty much 400 teachers and pairs. And then with the other 100, we can ask for clerks and bus drivers. Is that correct? Okay.
Okay.
So all those people that touch kids every day, those will be the people that, the staff that will receive that training. Those staff members that touch kids every single day. From the time they get on the bus, cafeteria workers, until the time that they leave school. We should have some form of training to, for our students, diversity, equity, and inclusion.
What is the pleasure of the board?
Madam President,
Trustee Williams?
is this the question session?
No.
Or no?
We have to make a motion.
Okay.
Where's the pleasure of the board?
I do have one question.
Oh, no.
You need a
How
vote.
do you get a motion?
First.
I'm so sorry I was reading.
Okay,
I just want to make sure, you said
where?
the board,
I need a motion.
oh, I'm sorry. I make a motion.
Trustee Smith makes the motion.
I second that motion.
Trustee Williams seconds the motion. Now, all the questions.
Okay. I was just reading this, okay, they were saying that, the board, the teachers, and administration, that also includes Miss Wright.
Pardon me?
Does this include you two in this training?
Oh, absolutely, the whole entire district.
I
Yes,
just want to make sure.
yes.
Yeah, it's
I'm
on-
first.
It's actually
I
on
just want to make sure.
page 6. Page 6. It says,
Madam President,
Trustee Williams.
Superintendent Wright, my question is with the additional or the adding of appendix A, B, C, and D is different from the approval that's in the docket for us today.
Yes.
My question is, the initial contract or initial approval that you were asking for was for the professional fees for the lab for school board board directors and administration of principals up to 30. Now, with the addition of adding appendix A through A, B, C, and D, can you explain why it wasn't originally given to us as a whole versus just?
That's a good question. That's a good question. So initially, I gave you all the proposal just for the board and the administrators, so we can lock in the board's date, lock in the building administrator's date, because we have professional development the week of June 14th through the 18th, I believe it was. So I just want to lock in those dates to make sure that we got the building principals and the board. Once we get the building principals and the board in, then the thought was we can come back and then talk about what we would do for the teachers.
And that's what appendix A through.
Right. So the initial thought was to get the board and the building principals trained and to lock in those dates. And then to discuss how we were going to schedule for the building principals in the fall and throughout the rest of the year.
Thank you.
Did I make, okay.
Madam President, I think that's a great conversation to have at our future presentation, because obviously what I thought today was for the board and administrative principals. Now, A through D hasn't been, at least towards the end it has, but I don't know anything about A through D. And I'd like to have a little bit more information on A through D before we approve something that's well over, I'm not going to say the amount, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be over 100,000. So I like to at least approve what we have in front of us today, which is the 6,000 for the assessment of the school board as well as the administrative principals, and possibly with the outcome of that, we can come back to for the board for any additional or add-ons, if possible. Because I just got this today. I haven't done any research. I know Global Solutions has been around since 2015, so you guys have been around, but I at least like to get a little bit more information, some history. Some of the other programs that we
It's up to your point. If you want to keep it, what you propose as is, you can.
It's a motion. Can I remove it?
Well, the motion is based on what we have in front of us, which is not this. He
Okay.
gave us this today.
Oh, okay.
So
No,
it's based on what I
No,
see
it's-
here.
No,
right?
it's actually what she said. You
Yeah.
added on the
right.
Oh, she's adding?
Yeah, we wanted to add A through D.
Got it.
But if I could, just to address the concern, if Trustee Smith agrees to amend her motion to make this inclusive of only the original proposal, she can take that amendment and then it can be discussed further. If that's what it sounds like the consensus is. If that's the case, you could do it. The way you would do it, though, would be for Trustee Smith to agree to amend her motion to include the initial proposal only.
No.
And I don't remember the second, but
So it was trustee Smith and trustee Williams.
She said she and I second that.
So we have the amendment by trustee Smith to what we have in our packet.
just for purposes of the minutes, Trustee Smith would have accepted the recommendation to amend the motion made by Trustee Rodriguez.
That's it. Okay, so now on the table is to vote for the amended proposal to go back to what we actually had, trustee Rodriguez, on the actual documents. So are there any other questions on that?
Madam President,
Trustee Gomez?
I have a number of questions. I'll start with my company, the company I work for, I should say, is they've just been bought out by a global corporation. So DEI is a big push in my company, and it's been going on for quite a while now. Tail end of last year, it's pretty much since the acquisition. So been a big push on that end, and I have spoken to the superintendent about my concerns. I know Milton, and consider him a friend. This is not about friendship. This is about a business item that's in front of us. And I agree with Trustee Rodriguez that and I appreciate Trustee Smith and Trustee Williams going along with that. That's a significant amount of money that we're looking at here. And while we've got CARES money, I just don't want to be burning through it. And so I think taking a more conservative approach is the way to go. Likewise, I can say that, when we did a superintendent search, this comment will always live with me as a board member, that they told us, the search committee told us, don't fall in love with the first person that interviews with you. Right now, we only have one contract in front of us. I would have liked to seen more, or I'd like to see more background work on the administration's part. I've looked Global Consulting Solutions up on the internet. I can't find anything on them. I can only take the word off the slide that they're doing work in other school districts. I've asked the superintendent for information so that I could feel more comfortable in making a decision that I think is good for the district. Lacking that information, I can't support this. I would also say that we are in the process of hiring a DEI person. And now we're talking about June 14th through 18th. To me, that DEI person should be part of this project. They should be involved in it. I would have liked to have seen a DEI person put in place and then have him or her go about looking at other opportunities that they could bring forth to the administration to bring forth to the board. So I have a number of reservations about this, and I'm not comfortable with this at all. A lot of money, and I'm sorry, you know, I heard the word data and research, I don't know how many times during the presentation. I would look forward to that if it exists. I'm not saying it doesn't. But right now, I have no data I can work from. Lacking that data, and that's what this board is supposed to do, is to be voting on data. I'm not feeling this right now, and I apologize, you know, if I'm on the opposite side of my friend Milton here, but this is not an issue about friendship. It's really about the dollars that we're spending on something I think is needed here. I'm supportive of the DEI person at the head of this whole project, but it seems like we're putting the cart in front of the horse. I can't support this.
So, Mr. Gomez, if I can just address, we're not hiring a DEI person. We have a director of SEL that we're hiring, that was approved, I believe, 2 board meetings ago, and also an E&L director, but no DEI director.
Madam President. But we're not approving the entire appendix at this point. We're
No.
just approving what's in front of us
Right.
now. That's what's on the table, right?
Right.
Okay.
And I
So,
appreciate
Trustee Gomez, is that what you're not supporting?
No, and I appreciate you saying that. I really do, because my concern is that A is going to lead to B. And that's my concern. I would like to see more companies coming up to us with the same proposal for the same item agenda items. I appreciate you saying that. That's exactly what I'm getting at. That if we approve this today, we're almost bound now to go to step 2 of this. That's my concern here.
Okay. So if I may, Madam President, so what's on the floor now is what's been submitted to us in board docs for Global Consulting Solution, with administrative training and board training is what you're not opposed to, right? Is what you're not in.
Here, let me do this. I would like to make a secondary motion that we approve the contract for the board portion only, and let the board witness whether this $3,000 investment is worth any more investment in this. I'm being kind by doing this, by the way. So I'm making a secondary motion.
Is there a second to that motion?
Can I get clarity on that? So first of all, do we still have the motion that's still on the table, correct?
So yeah, what's on the table right now is that we're approving the contract that we have before us in our board doc. So his motion, his secondary motion is that we're not going to approve the whole contract that's on our board docs. He just wants the SCEC board directors only to be approved. That's the secondary motion. Correct?
Correct.
Is there a second for his motion?
Madam President?
Trustee, Smith has seconded the motion already. So,
Madam President,
yes, trustee.
I have a question for the superintendent.
Okay.
How many administrators do we have throughout the district?
Certified administrators,
I'm assuming this would be
11.
this would be certified and
yeah,
not certified.
certified administrators 11, non-certified maybe 10.
So on the floor right now, we have a secondary motion, and that is to approve only the board of directors portion of this item of the contract. Are there any questions to that?
Madam President,
Trustee Rodriguez.
I'm not sure if the kind of contract is cut in yet. Once the contract is laid out, I don't know.
Well, the only concern I would have about the motion is whether or not Global Consulting Solutions is interested in doing half of the contract. That's not what they proposed. So I couldn't, it's a good question. I can't answer it for you though. Essentially what's been proposed by Trustee Gomez is to cut in half what they proposed, which isn't really their proposal. So
Then let me address this. How about, to answer that question, the superintendent can follow up on her end, and we can just remove this from the agenda for tonight, and then let her do her due diligence.
just my understanding from her recommendation is she's done the due diligence and recommended the proposal that's in the packet for the training that's been recommended.
I understand that. I'm asking if she is willing to remove this, to do due diligence so we can have more information as a board. That would be obviously up to her, but I would say that that's an opportunity here for us to just do more homework on this, and then to get an addition 76,000 thrown on our plate tonight. I'm not sure that's fair to the board, so I would appreciate if the superintendent would agree to
So
the motion.
now you have to, you're taking your motion off the table then?
No, it's still on there right now, but
Okay.
I think to address Attorney Harris's concern, whether superintendent is okay with that.
Okay, so first, at this point, we have a secondary motion for the approval of just the 3,000. We're not sure if the Global Consulting Company would be okay with that. So the proposal now is that we just take it off the table completely until another meeting. Is that what you're,
I think that would be,
so,
that's the motion.
so
Well, then
that's,
that's,
I guess, no.
I don't know that that was a motion. I think that's what Trustee Gomez is asking the
Oh, yeah.
superintendent
Oh,
if she's
if
willing
that's
to
what she's
do.
willing to do.
I'm pretty confident in Global Consulting Solutions. I spoke with some of the area superintendents that they have worked with personally myself, and they gave them very high favorable ratings. So I'm very comfortable in recommending Global Solutions to provide training to both the board and the administrative staff.
I just want to say that I appreciate your confidence in them. I have asked the superintendent for, I want to see information in front of me. I don't distrust her. I want to see information in front of me. I requested that earlier today. I did not receive it. It's 7:07 now, and so I still cannot support this.
So then,
Right now, there's a secondary motion on the floor for half of the proposal. The concern is whether or not they're even interested in doing half the proposal, but it's there. So I think if there's no more discussion on that secondary motion, it needs to be voted on, and then there would still, then that'll
then we
determine
go
what
back
happens
to the
next,
first, okay.
depending upon what happens.
Let me add, Attorney Harris, then I would then just make another motion to remove it from the agenda altogether. I'm making a recommendation to remove it from the agenda altogether.
So now it's that you're changing the motion to recommend to remove from the agenda.
I make, yes.
Okay, so is there a motion,
Okay.
is there a second to his motion to remove the agenda item altogether?
I'll second that motion, only just to give us enough opportunity to research, and to, if there's any questions for us to ask the superintendent for any further questions.
Okay, so right now on the table is a first and a second to take this item off the agenda. Any other questions?
Madam President, yeah, I just want to be clear that, this has obviously caused a lot of discussion here tonight. I think it's in the board's best interest and the superintendent's to remove this, so I think we still have more work to do here.
So trustee Gomez, while I understand you have your personal concern, this is my personal concern. It's been since, I don't know, when I used to work here where we asked for some type of diversity training, and unfortunately we haven't had it. When I got on the board, one of the main messages we brought back was, we need diversity training. We need diversity training. We see this, they throw it down our throats all day as board members. We don't have it. Finally, there's something that's here. And the school districts are saying that it's a good thing for our schools. To me,
Superintendent is confident.
our superintendent's confident, and more importantly, these individuals are from this area and understand our children probably the most when it comes to things that they've been through and they need. But again, some people just don't feel that's important, and I understand that. So it's unfortunate that this is on the table, but it's on the table. So any other questions? It's a Ms. Cass, please.
Okay, repeat what we're
To remove this item from the agenda.
on the agenda,
So a yes vote would be to remove.
yes.
And a no vote would be to not remove
A
it.
no vote would be not to remove it, correct?
No, he wants to, the agenda, what's on the table right now is to remove the item from the agenda. A yes vote removes this item from the agenda. A no vote keeps it on the agenda. Okay. Ms. Cass?
Yes. Yes.
No.
No.
No. So now we go back to having the Global Consultant Solution Services, and it will be the approval of the items that are in our board dockets. What is the pleasure of the board?
Madam President, I make a motion for approval.
Trustee Williams makes a motion for approval.
Second?
Trustee Rodriguez seconds the motion. Are there any questions?
Madam President,
I didn't know if there was, I'm sorry. Trustee Gomez?
thank you. So I'd like to know exactly what school districts you are mentioning, Superintendent, that have already received these services.
Yes, please.
We've been working with Larry Baracco over at Lake Central, Scott Miller at Hammond. I can get you the references for the South Holland School District 150 as well.
Any other questions?
Yes, I just want to make a comment here that I will say that the previous company I worked at, and I mentioned this to the superintendent today, that, the HR staff was filled with 8 Anglos, and the push for diversity was a hard sell at the ground level when the workforce in the HR department and the upper management was predominantly Anglo. So I think I have, an additional concern about getting some more flavored. Pictures looked great, but I don't see that in the actual presentation or the people who would be doing the training and presentation to them. I understand that, local is good, but I would just like to see more diversity in the actual presentation itself. I think we have to do this. I don't have any issue with it. I'm not even saying I have an issue with this corporation. I just want more information. And I feel like, what we got was very limited here. And I didn't get any supporting documentation that I asked for. And a lot of this seems to be feel-good stuff. I'm sorry to say it that way. But needed, yeah. Is this the best company to deliver? I'm not sure I'm ready to fall in love with tonight.
Any other questions or comments?
Madam President,
Trustee Rodriguez.
first and foremost, I do like the presentation. The only thing actually one of my questions was going to be for them to actually come before us. It's possibly set up a work session, but obviously they came today, which is good. I appreciate that. Getting a little understanding of the company. And I do appreciate, Superintendent, the fact that you are breaking it down step by step. That's another good thing that I like about it, is the fact that it's broken down step by step. So the first step would be the assessment. The second step would be whatever outcomes comes from that. So I do appreciate that, and I guess I'll be looking forward to that, to the assessment, and see where it goes from there.
Any other questions? Ms. Cass, roll call, please.
Yes.
No,
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Item number 6, administration salary schedule, superintendent.
Yes, I am asking for the approval of the administrative salary schedule. The administrative salary schedule has not been amended, board approved since 2012. We want to make sure that we retain and attract quality administrators. In order to retain and attract quality administrators, we developed a salary schedule with the committee team, Ms. Goods and Mr. Doctor, that we think is competitive throughout the region for our administrators. So I'm asking for approval of the 21-22 administrative salary schedule.
What is the pleasure of the board?
Madam President, make a motion.
Trustee Rodriguez makes a motion for approval. Trustee Smith seconds the motion. Any questions? I just want to put it on record that you're sending us the administrative guidelines just to make sure that everything stays as fair. And I think that was a good thing that we are addressing. And Superintendent, I would love to see this, and I think I discussed it from top to bottom. So from our administrators down to our clerical, it'd be nice to be able to have a goal in mind to move up. So if we could do that, I think that'd be great. Any questions?
Madam President,
Trustee Gomez.
I would just make comment that the add-on to this, I know there's a date here, 3/16, but that there actually be a header or add-on to the headers so that it identifies that these salary schedules are for 2021, 2022.
To piggyback on that comment, if you're making an edit to it, I would also recommend that you amend note 1 to make some reference to the administrative guidelines that Trustee Hernandez-Orns mentioned.
Oh, and we also had to change the hierarchy we discussed about for the principals. We had it, if you recall, the principal is supposed to be the principal. And
Yeah, we talked about that. Instructional. Madam President,
Trustee Williams.
I know we discussed this in an exec session. I was just wondering, did we did we clarify the steps in regards to the criteria, how you get from one to the other?
That's going to be an administrative guideline.
Thank you.
Yes. Mhm.
Any other questions? Class roll call, please.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Item number 7, proximity learning contract. Ms. Good?
Okay, go ahead, Ms. Goods, but I think you all are going to be happy with this contract and what we're proposing for the district, so we want to make you all smile now.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So proximity learning contract involves a opportunity for us to be able to deliver to our students content that they would not usually be able to get. So in the case of, we have a section of students who have filled out course request interest that would like to take Mandarin Chinese. So this gives them an opportunity to take Mandarin Chinese via an online format, but they will have a licensed Mandarin Chinese teacher. We are also offering Latin. Latin, as you know, is the root of all languages, and that gives students not only an opportunity to take a foreign language, but also be able to look at the roots and the origins of the words that we even have in English. So Mandarin Chinese, which is a global language, and Latin, which is the root of all languages, will be offered via proximity.
What is the pleasure of the board?
Madam President, I make a motion for approval.
Trustee Williams makes a motion for approval.
Second.
Trustee Rodriguez seconds the motion. Any questions?
Madam President.
Trustee Williams?
Superintendent, did I see, this is being paid out of CARES as well?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. It could be paid out of CARES. Yes, absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Madam President,
Trustee Gomez?
this is clearly for one school year, but what's the long-range plan here?
I would say that we renew this, if we're happy with proximity and the services that they provide, I would recommend that we renew yearly. Renewing yearly would offer our kids the opportunity to take courses that they normally wouldn't be allowed to take. Maybe we can expand it to advanced trigonometry. We can expand it to more dual credit courses, and our kids can graduate with more college credits. Right now, when we offer in order to offer dual credit, teachers have to be certified in particular areas, and we're having a very difficult time finding those certified teachers to offer those dual credits. So my projection or my goal would be to, after next year, to expand this program, to offer our kids more opportunities to be able to compete when they go to college and on the workforce.
The kids who have shown interest in that, what grade level are they in?
High school.
High school. These are
I
high school
understand
students.
that. What specific grade level?
Probably 11th and 12th graders, I believe it is. 11th and
Some of them are ninth graders.
Oh,
as
okay.
well. So Latin 1, it's Latin 1, so it would be a first level Latin class, which could be open to any grade level. And it's Chinese 1 as well, so it would be open to any grade level.
Trustee Gomez, I know, just to touch base, from a perspective of the student, they do not have to take foreign language for 4 years. So they might just take it 1 or 2 years or 2 semesters of it in order to complete that course, the check for their.
But our students who would want to get an academic honors diploma would need to take 3 years of a foreign language or 2 of one and 2 of another.
And honestly, I know how it is to be able to give just a student the opportunity to gain more credit once you're going to college. Mm-hmm. I know I received it when I went to college for Spanish, so to be able to allow somebody else a different perspective of a different language, I think that'd be nice.
Additionally, the graduation requirement exam is going to be the SAT going forward. And the SAT has a vocabulary component, and Latin will assist greatly with helping our students with that vocabulary component.
I do, excuse me, Madam President,
Trustee Gomez?
I do like the initiative. I just trying to get a picture of where we're at with this. So can you tell me how many kids are in 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade that are showing interest in this?
I don't have those numbers with me. I can get those numbers
I
for you.
appreciate it. Thank you.
I have an idea. We do have about 22, 23. We have enough students interested for one class each. Because I think the minimum requirements we set was 20 kids, I believe it is. So it's probably 22, 23 kids. Because we're only offering one section.
And Superintendent, correct me if I'm wrong. I know when they did the fire and rescue courses the very first time, they only had like 12, 14, and then now they have up to 40 for some classes. So once you introduce, you probably will attract more.
Right. We just want our kids to have the opportunity. We don't want them to be able to walk away and not have an opportunity. We want to be able to give them all the opportunities that other districts give their kids. And I think to be able to offer Latin and Mandarin in an urban school is pretty huge. So once the kids realize that we're offering Mandarin, I'm sure we're going to be expanding this next school year. Trustee Gomez.
Thank you. I would hope so. I just wanted to get a flavor for where we're at today, and then, see where we're at next year at the same time.
Sure.
These classes will be offered year-round,
Yes, for 2 semesters.
2 semesters? Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Ms. Cass, roll call, please.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes, item number 8, Ingenuity Renewal Contract.
Ms. Goods?
Ms. Goods.
So we are also asking for approval of the Edgenuity renewal contract. This gives our students an opportunity to engage in credit recovery via an online format where they can work at their own pace based on the mastery that they may have or may not have received when they took the course originally.
What is the pleasure of the board?
Madam President, I make a motion for approval.
Trustee Williams makes a motion for approval. Trustee Smith seconds the motion. Any questions?
Madam President,
Trustee Gomez.
we had a discussion about this, but I'd like the superintendent to share the concern, I think by some, was people using this in lieu of going to class.
Yes, so a couple years ago, the purpose of Edgenuity is for credit recovery, or to either, at the building's principal's discretion, to give kids the opportunity to earn a credit in advance. What was happening was there were some infidelities with the program, but we have tightened that up. We have a form, a triplicate form. The parent must sign the form, the teacher must sign it, the counselor, and the principal is the last person to sign that form, and to make sure that the kids receive their courses with fidelity. We also use Edgenuity in the summertime. If, for example, we don't have enough kids to offer a biology class, those kids can take Edgenuity, biology in Edgenuity.
Thank you.
Superintendent, according to the question, Ms. Goods, if these students do not have Ingenuity, what other platform could they do to receive their credit?
So we also have Indiana Online Academy that we have opted to give as another option. That is an opportunity for them to take a class as well with a licensed teacher. That class usually lasts about 7 weeks, and it is a beginning to end course. There's also Edmentum services, which is, some people call it Plato, reference it as Plato, but Edmentum is the company that owns Plato's work, and they also offer an online format very, very similar to Edgenuity.
That's what we need to have.
We used to use Plato, absolutely. And we transferred over, I believe, maybe 3 or 4 years ago to Edgenuity. Yes, we used to use Plato, absolutely.
Any other questions? Ms. Cass, roll call, please.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes, the next item is Orange Frog Professional Service Agreement.
Ms. Goods?
So everyone is probably aware that the administrative staff has been engaged in the happiness course. And there's the Orange Frog Happiness Course that was started by Sean Acor of Harvard University. And we have been for the last 6 months almost in participating in different sessions that are going to help us with assisting and boosting morale and engagement in our schools with our staff. At this point, we want to be able to take it to the next level, which is our teachers. We want our teachers to have an opportunity to participate in some of the rich professional development that the administrators have had an opportunity to participate in, so that that happiness can trickle down to our students. We know that happiness is a choice, and we just want to be able to show everyone involved the benefits of being happy and engaged in the classroom.
What is the pleasure of the board?
Madam President, I make a motion for approval.
Shane Williams makes a motion for approval.
I'll second.
Trustee Rodriguez seconds the motion. Any questions?
Madam President,
Trustee Gomez.
I'm not clear on what's in front of us here. Under the contract itself, it says the travel-related expenses, virtual, no travel expenses needed. A little bit later, it says there's a $7,500 plus travel and shipping. It's about $2,000. So we're looking at now close to $10,000. Which is this?
So to my knowledge, included in that contract is the amount for the happiness consultant to come and deliver the professional development to our teachers. So there's a travel amount if he is able to deliver it in person. If he is not able to deliver it in person, then that travel amount goes away. Then there's the amount in the actual delivery of the professional development. And then there are the books and resources that come with the professional development. All of that is included in that $10,000, and it includes teacher staff up to 500 people.
Madam President?
Trustee Rodriguez.
One thing I don't like to see is when they strike items or letters or sentences off a contract. I don't think this is the format that we're normally dealing with.
No, but the reason it's not is because it's really more of a proposal that they use as an agreement. It's a little bit more than, like, the prior one was really a proposal. This is a proposal that has an agreement attached to it, and it's their standard form. I did review it. I know the portion of the agreement that's stricken out regarding a notice. It didn't cause me enough concern that I wouldn't recommend that you enter into it based on that language. It's just a matter of whether or not you agree with the proposal.
Madam President.
Trustee Wood.
Mrs. Goods, I believe at one point in time, we did approve this, and I believe that administrators did go through it, right?
And they are continuing to go through it. We did not do April because of testing, but we have a session scheduled for May and a session scheduled for June. So
Okay.
admin is still participating. We would just like to be able to, start the school year with a big boost of morale and be able to deliver the PD to our teachers.
Now, my next question to you will be, do the IBOE, do they offer something from the state of Indiana in regards to something that's very similar to Orange Frog or no?
They have the SEL competencies, but those are social emotional learning competencies that they put together a menu and curriculum for throughout the school year that teachers and staff can use with students. This is something to boost teachers and staff's morale. So it gives you those quick wins, those things that you know, make people happy, but you definitely don't think about them on a regular basis. So reminding us that some of the things they reminded us of that we're people first, and being able to delve into those humanistic qualities that make us important and valuable in the workplace, which in turn trickle down to us making sure that our students feel important and valuable in the classroom. So this is really kind of a focusing.
Okay, I'm for it. I like it. I've seen this at Cube Conference as well, and I know Hernandez Orange, Trustee Hernandez Orange was very interested in it because she asked me to attend the session with her. But the one that the IDOE offer, is it free of charge or is it a fee as well?
It's free. It's
It
called the
is free?
happiness course. It's
The
free.
happiness
Yes,
course. Okay,
yes,
that's
it's free.
that was my concern.
yes.
So I just want to make a point. One, no, I don't want it because it's orange, because I've heard little sneer comments here and there. No, that has nothing to do with it. I actually did stop in prior to this Devin Hughes becoming who he was, because he just did an actual work session in the National School Board Conference this past, like, about a month ago. But my only question and concern is, prior to extending this contract, and I think this is where Trustee Gomez was trying to get at, did we evaluate if this is even something that the people who are going through this happiness course is taking advantage of? I know some schools, I definitely see the orange all over the place, but you know, I don't know if it's bogging down others. I would like to have had some feedback to see if the feedback is, you know what, this works, let's extend. Do we have any of that by chance?
So we don't have like survey feedback, like if I were to survey staff, but we have definitely had situations where our administrators have taken this PD and some of the things from the PD and used it in their professional development on Late Star Wednesdays. Or, you know, they've given me feedback verbally about some of the things that we've done. They participate actively in the session. So like they ask us to bring evidence and bring examples of things that we've done to make the staff happier or, you know, to boost morale. They actually are active participants and they have, you know, engagement pieces that they bring to the table. So from that tells me that it's not just a passing fancy, that it's something that they actually like to do, and it's something that they've been engaged in doing. And I'm sure, I don't know how many staff members we have. I know Helen is here. Oh, Tammy is here. But I'm sure that they have encountered Orange Frog and Happiness within some of their staff PDs, because it is a district-wide push. And what I got from them when we first started was we needed this. This was well needed for us.
I do believe a morale booster in the school district is 100% needed, and I know this takes some buy-in, and as will the other diversity training will definitely take some buy-in. And I don't know how or to get everyone to buy in, because if not, then you could tell a difference in the schools, and that's one thing that we keep on saying: stop working in pods, work all together. And unfortunately, even with the training, you still see the pods.
It takes time. It definitely takes time to break down those walls and to make us feel like a collaborative team. And so I do know over time I'm starting to see different rays of light, but I can't. But I will definitely say there are still people that are working out of the do my own thing process. So yeah.
Madam President, just to kind of piggyback off of President Orange with regards to possibly even having some sort of survey, whether they have one in store for you, or you can create maybe a 5-question survey for future to see if the administration as well as the teachers are excited about it.
Absolutely.
Well, I was going to say, not just a survey. Maybe teachers can come in and explain to us exactly what they learned. It's better to hear it than numbers or data. It's just, we need to know that they are actually, their morale is being boosted, not just by numbers of paper. We need to know that if this program is going to continue, that there is a change, not just saying that. We need to know. We can have all the programs in the world, but if we don't have person-to-person feedback, it's null and void. It's just money wasted. I'm not against it. I'm a people person. And with that being said, we need to see people's action as far as morale boosting, because we can just say, okay, everybody's happy. No, everybody's not happy. So we need feedback, whether it's good or bad. I mean, positive or negative. I mean, let's just be for real. If it's negative, then let's fix it and see what we can do and move on. If it's, vice versa. Data is fine. I get that. But personal interaction is more valuable than just data.
Agreed. Any other questions? Ms. Cass, roll call, please.
Yes.
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 Yes. Item number 10, MOU top 20.
So, I think that's me. So the School City of East Chicago and the Top 20 Dance Company have put together a partnership where we are going to make sure that we are mentoring students through the programs that Top 20 provides. That, there's always an engagement piece. You want to hook students with an opportunity to dance and perform and showcase their talents. But the Top 20 leaders have also included within their dance program a mentoring piece, an opportunity for students to do some community service and be actively involved and engaged in their school environment and the community. So I am asking or requesting that the board approve the Top 20 MOU, because this will give our students another outlet, another opportunity to be mindful and connect with the real world.
What is the pleasure of the board?
Madam President, I make a motion for approval.
Trustee Williams makes a motion for approval.
Second.
Trustee Smith seconds the motion. Any questions?
Madam President.
Trustee Gomez.
A couple of questions regarding this. Under the marketing bullet points, which are the third set of bullet points, permitting the organization to post flyers and other marketing materials in the building, I would feel more comfortable if those were approved by either the building principal or the superintendent, rather than just giving them a blanket okay to post flyers in the buildings.
They would definitely be approved by the superintendent first.
Attorney Harris, is that something we should include in this?
We could. I actually have a comment that will require a change too, so while you're at it.
Okay. And making buses available to transport participants to and from events. There's no dollar amount tied into that. So I think I might have a little bit of a concern about that. Superintendent can explain what that looks like.
Well, Ms. Goods has been working more closely with Top 20, so.
And right now, we don't have any services that they would be bused back and forth for. They've been doing virtual, they've been doing virtual services, but when we also have students who are transported home for after-school tutoring. And so at all times, we will be maximizing our usage of our funds. Students who participate in Top 20 could ride home with our students who are participating in after-school tutoring.
If I may, Trustee Gomez, or
Yeah.
piggyback off of Mrs. Good comment in regards to that. I have worked with Top 20 in the years that I have been working at Block. Top 20 coordinators have also spoken with administrators as building principals and as athletic programs. They have always coordinated around the bus schedules that take athletes home or after-school tutoring kids home. So it's no specific bus that comes to pick up for top 20. They just always become a part of that program, from Sedesco providing them after-school lunches, them having tutoring for themselves as well. So they always coordinated with some other, either it's athletics, either it's an extracurricular activity that's going on in school. I have worked hand in hand with them before, and it has not been a problem in the past.
So I have just were you done with your question?
I'm sorry, no, I did have a couple more under letter B, facilities. It says for school year 2017, 2018.
That's probably a typo. It's just like 21, 22, or, so that, we'll change that. Okay. You may not have caught that.
Trustee Gomez, you have one.
I probably do. You go ahead.
Trustee Rodriguez, you have a question?
Just one question. I know that, is there any cost associated with top 20 at all?
It says $8,000. We're into this for 8,000.
So that is
But-
actually, you know what, and that part is probably my fault. Mr. Gomez, Trustee Gomez, we're proposing later on a partnership with Top 20 to do something specifically at the high school, and that will be where the actual cost comes into play, the 8,000. I can give you a little bit about that now. I'm waiting on a clarification from the Indiana Department of Education. But what we want to do is propose a course that Top 20 would partner with us on. The students will be able to earn a community service credit, and there's an application that goes through the DOE. They filled out the application. We submitted the request. I did get some feedback today that the DOE is ready to move it to the next step, that it was in good standing. So I didn't want to present that part until I actually had the DOE to be able to approve it and say, yes, let's move forward. So that's where the 8,000 comes from. So you can strike that from the memo, and I will resubmit the memo when I resubmit the high school course for credit.
I just want to be clear. I'm solidly behind the program. I just, Attorney Harris, that's the last set of bullet points there, 8,000. It's something we're voting on.
Yeah, I agree. That needs to be amended out. I actually had a conversation with the superintendent about this, and she confirmed that there wouldn't be any fee associated with it. So
So the MOU doesn't state that there's a fee. It's just that memo. So we could actually move forward just with the MOU, because in the MOU doesn't state that.
well, whatever your motion is to will be with these contingencies and or amendments. So I'll make sure that the document reflects what you vote on today.
The MOU document.
Correct.
And then can you make sure to send it to us?
I'm comfortable with that.
Any other questions? Mr. Gomez?
I'm sorry, I'm done. Thank you.
And then, when I first read this, I was just confused. This is just for the upcoming year, or is it currently?
It has not begun yet. We have been waiting for the MOU to be approved. So what has begun is the program over at Kerry Gosh, because we approved that memorandum a couple of weeks ago.
So
I'm sorry.
I just want to make sure that if we're starting the programs, I would like to see programs start at the beginning of the year. So if this is for the upcoming year, then, I want to start it day one rather than wait until 17 days prior to them school.
Okay.
So that would be the years 2021, 22 school year.
That's my assumption. This MOU's for,
The course at the high school, will be school year 21, 2022. So if I may, here's a little background information. couple weeks ago, we approved the MOU for Kerry Gosh. Last year, Kerry Gosh, this top 20 was in Kerry Gosh, and they were working with the Parent Cafe. This year, because of COVID, the top 20 was doing some tutoring after school. They got a grant from Foundations, I believe it is, and they were doing some tutoring after school, and they were doing some things outside of Kerry Gosh. So in order for them to expend all the funds that they received from Foundations, we had to approve this MOU so they could start using their funds from the Foundations. But the high school course doesn't start until the beginning of the school year. So we wanted to make sure that top 20 was able to use some of the funds from Foundations like right now. So that's why this MOU came to you all like right now, but the high school portion will start at the beginning of the school year.
Did this come in with the other one? The Kerry Gosh?
The one we approved for Kerry Gosh a couple weeks ago was the one that had already been approved.
No, I'm saying, but did the high school and all that come together? Did we not? I'm just wondering why we didn't get all of it at one time, and why we didn't get it in the beginning of the school year.
COVID.
Well, yeah, I think COVID has a lot to do
Yes.
with all
Right.
of it.
Yes.
In regards to this, once again, with this program, it has been a very good asset for our girls and our young men. This program has performed at any sports banquet. They have performed at halftime of any sporting event at either the high school or the middle school. I think this is a great asset for our district. I think they started late due to the fact that COVID, and they wanted to try to enhance the program with all the protocols that have been in place as far as social distancing, not being able to meet with the students. They've been doing stuff virtually as well. So I think the reason why it didn't happen at the beginning of the school is because we didn't know how nothing was going to take place at the beginning of the school year. So I think for them to get the fund and be able to apply for that grant again, they have to be able to use the funding that they already have been allocated for. So I think this is a great program, and I think our kids are very, very needed of it.
So, Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Trustee Williams, so what year are we approved? Because obviously, if we didn't prove one at the beginning of the year, I'm assuming this is going to be 2020, 2021, right?
The MOU, yes.
Okay, so that's what we're proving, so they can get their money and.
And that's where the date that's where the date change need to happen at inside of this MOU.
So then they'll come before us in June or July for August.
Right, okay.
And it's give them approval that they can, whatever time that they have left, this just probably won't happen just in the last 17 days of the school year. They might
We could go into the
go
summer.
into the summer as well.
Summer
Yeah.
program.
So, all right.
Plus, top 20 has been a part of this community for 30 years. I mean, for real. And if you don't have a partnership with the community, then I'm not understanding this. Thank you.
Trustee Gomez?
Yes, thank you. Couple questions. One, I did just looking a little closer at this, facilities B1, second paragraph. This is operating on designated Saturdays during the school year.
Yes, they're gonna pay for all.
It's going to be my follow-up question.
Yes, they will pay for it, yes.
And two other items, it says that they may be required to pay all or portion of the mileage. That's under D, buses. Number 4 may also be required.
Which number 4?
4, letter D, number 4.
That should say will.
Attorney Harris.
I can make that change.
And finally, miscellaneous. MOU may be changed or modified as outlined in section 6. I don't see a section 6 here.
think there may be a page missing in the scan.
Thank you.
I mean, it's still,
You strike it. No, I think that section 6 is necessary.
okay.
It just didn't get on the scan, it looks like. That's my guess.
Oh, like, there's a, oh, because
Because you see it say 4, but then there's only a
That's the memo.
third page at the bottom of that.
Section 6 says this document will be reviewed annually by the SCEC superintendent and top 20 at least 60 days prior to the start of the new school year and approved by the SCEC board. Any changes, modifications to this MOU after the annual review shall be made in writing by either party at least 30 days prior to initiation and signed by both parties.
So what I would recommend doing, I know that funding is an issue here for top 20. So if the board would be willing to approve the agreement as amended, I'll make these changes that we've discussed during the meeting and we can put it in front of the board again for ratification. So you have the complete document with all the edits in front of you for the record. I think that would be the best solution.
is that okay with both of you?
That's okay with me.
Are there any questions for that? So now it's just the MOU top 20 will be amended by our attorney, and then it'll be brought before us for ratification afterwards. Any questions with that? Pass roll call, please.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Next, we'll have superintendent's remarks.
Yes. On behalf of the school city of East Chicago, we would like to extend our condolences to the family of Eli Gessick. Eli worked at the warehouse building in our craftsman department. He was an employee for the school city of East Chicago for 32 years. He was a dedicated employee who loved his job. He will be missed by all the staff in the district. We would also like to extend our condolences to the Platus family. Jim Platus was a longtime coach here in East Chicago, and he passed last week. Next, East Chicago Central High School graduation is scheduled for June 5th, 2021 at 2 p.m. in the gym, and the prom will take place on May 29th. Lastly, summer camp, School City Summer Cardinal Excel Camp is being offered for all students in the district. However, parents must register their students by May 11th. It's important that they register their students by May 11th. We're going to have summer camp at each building. Each school will have its own summer camp. Preschool summer camp will last, times are 9 a.m. until 12 p.m. Middle school summer camp is 8 a.m. until 12 p.m. and the high school summer school is 9 a.m. until 1 p.m. So summer school will take place June 7th through July 2nd. So we're asking all parents to make sure that they register their kids if they want their kids to go to summer camp. That's it.
Thank you. Next, we'll have trustee remarks. Are there any trustee remarks?
Madam President,
Trustee Gomez.
I was just curious, I just have one item regarding the airing of the school board meetings. I'm not sure if this is something for the superintendent or Mr. Ontiveros, but can you tell me where we're at regarding the airing of the school board meetings and the archiving of those meetings?
archiving the meetings.
Yes.
I'm not sure what's archiving the meetings. He wants to make sure that the meetings are archived. George is here. Would you happen to have the answer to that, George? I mean, Mr. Ontiveros, I'm sorry.
Little bit confused. Archiving as far as backups or saving them to a certain.
If I were airing these meetings, correct, on YouTube?
Yes.
Okay, so if I want to find this meeting, how would I find it? Number one, and number two, wouldn't it be more user friendly for us to have an archive on our website, or at least a link that we could send people to if they want to see the meeting that happened today, May 3rd or whatever day it is?
Sure. There is a School City of East Chicago channel on YouTube, and those archives that you're talking about are in that channel. So once we started streaming them live, once we started in COVID, those were placed in that channel.
And how do you get to that channel?
YouTube.com, then you search for School City of East Chicago.
And then what about the airing on public access TV?
Yes, once our meetings are done, the
Video gets sent to
video is sent to,
the public access and it's aired, but we cannot determine what time it's aired. It's aired on their own time. But so what happens is that they make the ECTV a user of the YouTube, and then that's how they're able to air it.
yeah, unfortunately for the East Chicago channel, you need to be a Comcast subscriber.
But you could go on the
But you could also go on YouTube.
yeah, there's
Thank you.
any other trustee remarks? I do have I know it's a long meeting, but I had to say, last meeting, I forgot and I apologize, but it was Administrative Assistant Day, and coming from where I was here in the School City of Chicago, those are the people who touch children probably the most. So I wanted to thank them for their service to what they have, for what they do for our students. I also wanted to say thank you to all the students who came to the Arbor Day on April 30th at Roxana Center. So we planted over 20 trees, and the people who were represented were the sophomore class through senior class, the girls tennis team, and they also had a match right afterwards, but they came, and the Honor Society. So it was great to see them work and actually plant the trees themselves, and they kept saying to themselves, like, I did this for my community, and I kept explaining to them, bring your kids back one day and tell them I did that. So it was great to see that action. I also wanted to say thank you to our teachers, as this is the week for National Appreciation for our teachers. I saw this poem online, and I'm going to read it. Sorry, you're going to get mad, but it's short and sweet. Thank you for all you do, hours you spend, attention you give, needs that you tend, knowledge you pass on, your special touch, offering guidance, undaunted by much. Time you spend planning, efforts you make, angles to learning, chances you take. Here's to our teachers, each one a gem. Recognize now, we salute them. Again, if our teachers are not teaching, our littles are not learning. So thank you. Any other trustee remarks? Next, we'll have public forum.
Okay, if you could please step to the podium, state your name and address. Your comments will be limited to 3 minutes. Please be respectful to the board, the staff, and the public who's also attending the meeting. Also, please refrain from discussing any individual personnel matters. Thank you.
Good evening. Can you hear me? Okay, I really hadn't planned on saying anything, but it's obvious that what saddens me, first let me just say thank you for all the support for all those who have spoken up for Top 20. This is a board that's been around for a while. We've been around for 9 years. So we're going to make sure that you have some information specific to all that we do. We don't get paid. We don't get a dime. We put in a lot of time. You really need to be cognizant and aware of all that we're doing. We do a lot, but we want to do more. Just like you all, you're concerned about our children, our families, and our young people receiving a quality education. Dance is an awesome inspirator. But based on all that's going on in our city, our country, and our world, our children need more than dance. And Top 20 has always provided more than dance. But the dance is a good inspirer. So board members, we're going to make sure that you have some information. Top 20 needs to be in place now, should have been in place a month ago. We've got COVID and other things. But the bottom line is that money, we need to be spending it now or lose it. So I'm happy you've done what you've done, but I'm not happy because we need to spend the money now. 3 of our dance instructors lost their jobs, and they cannot come on board with us right now because they need their income. We don't pay salaries. We give them what we can. Okay? So 2 of them said, you know what, forget it. We're going to come back whenever you start. We need to start now. And because we've done a lot, Carrie Gosh, that came on board, but we were doing a whole lot with all the schools, with the exception of the high school, even though we had high school students participating with us. We're at every school. Principals are excited and want us to come back. Parents are excited. My mother said, why are these folks calling you? Children and parents are calling. They're ready for us. So we need you all to do what you do. And we need to get started ASAP. Thank you.
If I could, can I respond? I know we normally don't do that, but just so it was a little confusing as to what the action the board took. But the proposal by Top 20 was approved by the board tonight. So if there's anything in writing that you need in order to get people started, I can provide that to you. The contract itself, the MOU, will be ratified at the next meeting, but the board did authorize you to move forward tonight. Just want to make sure that's clear.
Up next will be Mrs. Helen Steinbeck. You declining? Okay. How about you, Mrs. Linda Randolph?
Building relationships with community, and they have proven that they care about our kids. So, Ms. Deb, I'm glad that you made it. A child walks into the school, hair all over his head, looking nasty, a little bit of urine smell. Is he embraced or is he ignored? Well, it all depends on your biases. We have them. Whether you're predominantly one ethnic group or not, we have. And all over Northwest Indiana, it's being addressed in some form or fashion. Maryville addressed it years ago when they were becoming Little Gary. And Dr. Lux called a team of community people to the round table to talk about it. I was one of those. Portage addressed it 3 years ago when they had 3 blacks on their staff, and I think that's all they still have now. You got Lake Central and Hammond addressing it, the 2 biggest school districts in Northwest Indiana. So we're small, and my assumption is we don't have any issues. So that's good. But let's mainly avoid the blame game and deal with the whole child, which our native East Chicagoan Dr. Comer told us many years ago. Starting at the top is always crucial, for we must do an assessment of where we are in order to make strides to get where we're going. Some of this stuff is difficult because it's more of the touchy-feely, and you won't find as much hard data. What you will find is surveys. And it's my experience now with surveys, everybody's scared that technology got a way of figuring out who said what. You're not even getting quick surveys anymore. But the more you're in your building, the more the administrators interact, they get a feel for what is or is not going on in the district. So I would just like to ask us to be respectful of the intelligence of the people we put in place to guide us through this journey. I would ask that we be supportive. And the sermon yesterday was about telling the truth and trusting that we do the right thing. And that's what I'm asking. And as always, tell you guys, inspect whatever it is that you expect to happen. You think we good in Northwest Indiana, East Chicago? We're about 50-50 in terms of black and brown children, and everybody happy. The people traveling down 65 to get here, they all happy. They don't have any biases. And it's a wonderful place to work. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next date and time of the meeting is on May 19th, and that'll be at 6 p.m. Can I have a motion for adjournment?
Madam President, I make a motion for adjournment.
Trustee Williams makes a motion for adjournment.
Second.
Trustee
Rodriguez?
Rodriguez makes the second. And Ms. Castro, call please.
Yes.
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 Told you, Joe.